Coming on to government budget. Government budget is another chapter whose complete explanation is already uploaded in my Facebook as well as my YouTube channel, Economics with Nilanjana. If you have any problem, children, right away, what you are going to do is just ping me in my WhatsApp number 7739192552 and give me your problems, whether it is voice message, written message, or I have to solve some sums for you. I will be doing that within 10 minutes, and that's a promise. So let's see. We are talking about government budget. 5 conceptual mistakes that is going to snatch 5 marks out here. Let's see. First, revenue expenditure and capital expenditure. All expenditure, when money is going out of government treasury, it is expenditure. Revenue, when there is no change in asset liability status. Capital, when there is change in asset liability status involving anything to do with loan and investment. Similar with revenue receipt and capital receipt. Remember one thing, children, revenue expenditure. Revenue expenditure directly impacts the welfare of the people. In revenue expenditure, government does not only provide subsidies, but also they do DBT, direct benefit transfer. That means directly giving money in hands of people. Like, state government does Lokhir Bhandar, or say, unemployment allowance, old age allowance, destitute allowance. So directly they transfer money, okay? And capital expenditure actually impacts economic growth because it is building of bridges, roads, computerization of a department, everything of that sort. Next, revenue receipt and capital receipt. A high revenue receipt is very good because it is a tax receipt or non-tax receipt, but high capital receipt might be coming only by sale of shares of PSUs, which decrease assets, or by borrowing, which increases liability. Next is fiscal deficit. Fiscal deficit is when total budgetary expenditure is higher than total budgetary receipt net borrowing, because borrowing is done only when there is a fiscal deficit. So mathematically, number one, fiscal deficit is equal to borrowing. Fiscal deficit can be inflationary. If the banks, if the government start taking loans from the Reserve Bank of India, it increases money supply and inflation. And also there can be a fiscal deficit even when there is no revenue deficit, because in the revenue part, everything is all right. Only the capital part of the budget is a problem because it's a sum total of the two. So these 3 concepts you have to remember. Primary deficit, obviously primary deficit is the borrowing net, the interest that is being paid out of the borrowing amount. So if zero primary deficit means that, government is borrowing just to pay the interest of previous loans. So it's fiscal discipline actually. Revenue deficit, important. Revenue deficit is when the government is not being able to plan its expenditures and earnings. So that means it is not getting taxes, but government has huge expenditures. This expenditure and earning of government in the government budget chapter is what is called the fiscal policy. Now, listen to this carefully. If there is a high revenue deficit, then the revenue budget cannot tackle it. Government will borrow. When borrowing comes in, capital budget is helping out the huge revenue deficit. But if revenue deficit is more or less high, we have to just reduce it a bit, then revenue budget can be resorted to. That is, we have to government will be increasing the taxes and bringing down the expenditure level. Next comes budgetary policy during inflation and deflation. We know balanced budget and surplus budget, which is good to hear. But if it is a deflationary situation where government has to spend a lot, then surplus budget or balanced budget is not the solution. When there is deflation, government has to follow deficit budget. It has to spend more in order to give more money in the hands of the people so that aggregate demand increases and deflationary situation is solved. But in case of inflationary situation, when government does not want people to buy more, increase aggregate demand, they want to bring out the money from the economy, then what fiscal policy will they do? They will follow surplus budget or balanced budget. That means they are going to raise tax, reduce expenditure. That's it. So if I talk about numericals, let's see, there are a few numericals I have done for you. That is, over this numerical, there is capital receipt, revenue expenditure, interest payment, capital expenditure, tax and non-tax revenue, interest payment and borrowing. Just go by the formula Please note the board and go by the formula. This is how it is done. Revenue deficit, revenue expenditure minus revenue receipt. Put the values, done. Fiscal deficit is nothing but borrowing. I told you already, mathematically equal to borrowing. So just borrowing. And primary deficit is fiscal deficit minus interest payment. Interest payment is given. You've already gotten out fiscal deficit. The answer is there. Next. Find non-debt creating capital receipt. What is non-debt creating capital receipt? That means the capital receipt which does not include borrowing. Or very simple to say, capital receipt net borrowing. So let's see. So non-debt creating capital receipt is total receipt net borrowing minus revenue receipt. Because revenue receipt is also part of total receipt. So in order to get only the capital receipt part, revenue receipt has to be subtracted. Next comes fiscal deficit. Obviously, capital expenditure plus revenue expenditure minus total receipt net borrowing. We get the answer. And ultimately, we have this one. That is, find out the revenue deficit and fiscal deficit. Revenue deficit, fiscal deficit, very simple sum. There is no problem about it. Just put the formula. We get it. So there are the 4 types of numericals that I have done over here. So it is very, very important that you pause for some time, take the numerical down, because these are the kinds of numericals that is going to come for your examination. Next is numerical number 4. Find capital expenditure, total expenditure, interest payment. Capital expenditure, fiscal deficit is revenue expenditure plus capital expenditure minus revenue receipt plus capital receipt net borrowing. What have I just done here? Capital expenditure में थोड़ा सा यहाँ ले लिया, फिर revenue expenditure minus RR, इसको bracket में डाल के, obviously ये bracket के जब बाहर आया, this plus and minus becomes minus. Now this is what? Revenue expenditure minus revenue receipt. This particular part, it is nothing but revenue deficit. It is already given over here. I have just put the values and things are done. Total expenditure, revenue expenditure plus capital expenditure. Already we have gotten capital expenditure. So add revenue expenditure to it. And last, total expenditure is equal to, primary deficit is equal to FD minus IP. That is fiscal deficit minus interest payment. So this is the fiscal deficit minus interest payment. They have asked for interest payment because already primary deficit is given. So that is my interest payment. Please pause for some times on this. Make a pause and then note down the numerical.